Well, okay. Hi, everyone. Hey, come on in. Good to see you again. Hello, familiar faces and names. Here we are. Yes. I don't know what week it is. This is like, oh my God, this is the marathon book study. We've never done one this long with the same book, but it has been delicious and so good. Totally a college class book study, and I'm grateful to have brilliant people in here that really they know Sanskrit, they know the teaching. So Atmananda, and I'm just grateful for all of you that makes this a regular event and keeps it alive with us. I think I'm going on 5 years of book studies. This is just an ongoing thing. I love it. I love the book study experience. I just feel like it's just nourishing my awakening experience, and the teaching goes really deep. And I'm grateful to have William Price with us today. He knows this Sanskrit. He knows a lot of these words that when we get to the last four discourses, it starts using all kinds of things. You have to get your dictionary out and figure out what it's talking about. But of course, William Price, he knows all. I don't, William, how do you know all this stuff? Tell me that.
50 years of study.
50 years of study. Okay, well, I came late, even though I've been I've been on the path for 30 plus years. This non-dual Sanskrit, Hindu, Buddhist stuff is new to me in the last, I would say, 10 years. So, but I'm happy to have your expertise and your experience.
I'm not an expert. I just assimilated some through being around it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, it's good to have the input from people that are familiar, like, of course, Jenny Beal and
Absolutely.
others. So, welcome everyone. Thanks for being here and taking the time to be with us. And we're looking at discourses 341 to 350, 50? Yeah, 341 to 350. And the first one is, what is the relation between feeling deep sleep and the experience of I am? What do you think about this one, William?
Yeah, the feeling has to have an object. So it's they're tied together, the object and the feeling, because you can't have a feeling without it being tied to a concept or a mental object, a subtle object.
Yeah.
And those are usually based on preconceived beliefs, notions, and prejudices, samsaras, whatever you want to call it. Ignorance of some kind or another.
Well, he said in an answer to that, can I think of any feeling, for example, hate? No, hate as such can never be an object of thought. Hate cannot stand divorced from the objects with which it is connected. You cannot conceive of hatred. It can never appear by itself. Thoughts have to be indented upon to lead you onto it. And they themselves suddenly expire, plunging you into the experience called feeling, which is beyond all thought. It is in the same manner that you think of deep sleep. You think of all things connected with deep sleep, other than deep sleep itself. At last, all thoughts expire, and you are left alone in the state called deep sleep. Similarly, in the thought about yourself, you think about your body, senses, and mind, all distinct and separate from you, and dismiss them. When all those thoughts expire, you are left alone in yourself. You are that principle, which remains over even after everything perceivable has been eliminated from you. When I read this one, I would read a sentence and then I just kind of pause and sit with that for a minute, because it really the thinking mind needs to relax out of the way for the clarity to come in for me.
Totally agree.
Yeah. The thing that I really like about what you just said and what Atmananda just said is that, especially what you said, we're going to pick up later on in a couple of discourses, because the subject and the object are one thing, and awakening, understanding, realizes that there is no duality. And I think that Atmananda is really impressing upon us that there is no two things. There's only one thing. And you said that at the very first thing you said. You have to have the subject and the object are one. Anything else to say on that, William?
No, it's crystal clear to me what he's saying. Although the last, I'm not sure why. Well, when he ties in the idea of deep sleep, you realize that, there are no objects. There's only being.
Yeah, and there's no one to verify it because it can't be verified by the mind. So
Exactly.
Susan Wright said, is beyond all thought the same as deep sleep?
No, it's beyond all objects.
So is beyond all thought the same as deep sleep? That sounds like it probably is.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
beyond any perception too, though. I mean, any feeling, any perception. It's
Yeah.
just being.
Yeah. Does that make sense, Susan? That it's
Yeah, I like what William just said at the very end. It's being. It's yeah, that's just really kind of all clicked when he said that. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, thank you. It's good.
Isn't it cool how when just clarity drops in, all of a sudden you say, okay, I see that.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing.
Yeah, really. I know.
Yeah.
That's the thing that this book study does for me is, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, being.
Yeah, that's good. All right. And let's see. Jenny said, can be, but not necessarily. There are phenomenal differences between deep sleep and the gap between thoughts. It's more how you conceptualize it than the experience of consciousness itself, which never changes. Okay, so there's a slight distinction of that. Anything else to say on that? Let's move to 342. What is the relation between activity and its object? This is a good one. Seeing perceives only seeing, hearing hears only hearing, and so on. Knowledge knows only knowledge, and love loves only love. In short, the instrument utilized is itself perceived by the instrument. So also, you see only yourself in others, This is really good. Projection makes perception, right? You see only yourself in others. The child cannot see a thief in anyone because there is no thief in the child.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, really beautiful.
Then,
Okay.
oh, go ahead, Bill.
Well, I was just gonna say, I don't, there's nothing to add to that. It just really makes sense that everything that you perceive, conceptualize, or anything of that sort is you. uh, it you identifying as the object. It's the true you, your I am, that loses itself and identifies as the object. Seemingly, it doesn't really lose itself. It ignores itself.
Very good. Yeah.
All right, 343.
343. The answer's in the question itself. It's the word why which creates the question. Why means what's the cause? This presupposes the existence of causality. And causality can exist only if you admit the existence of difference between cause and effect. Therefore, it's absurd to ask for the cause of difference. The acceptance of the principle of causality is the question itself already implies the existence of difference. Because it's an arising within the mind, right?
Yep. Yeah, the first thing, I mean, this is what science does with materialism. It presupposes that matter is first, right? Him using this first statement that the answer is in the question, it is the word why, which means that this presupposes the existence of causality. It's presupposing that that's the starting point.
Yeah. So time comes into the picture because Y is asking for A plus and then B and then C and so on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of it just arising as experience.
Yeah. As soon as we use the word why, how, as soon as as soon as that word is used, we're identified as a separate mind. It goes on. The question can be solved by defining difference, or I would say, when he uses the word difference, defining separation. Difference comes into existence only through time, space, and causality. We generally say that time, space, and causality are the source of diversity or diversity. But to be more precise, we should really say that time, space, and causality form diversity. The question can also be solved by proving that there is no diversity at any time. There is no separation at any time, is what he's basically saying. There's only one. Jenny's been saying this for years and sort of drilling it into my mind. Thank you, Jenny. And that's what he's doing here. It is caused by the mixing up of one percept with innumerable other concepts which have no connection with that percept. The question is finally solved by proving that all is consciousness. There it is. All is consciousness. And this, when this starts to kind of rest in place, it's like, oh my God. In fact, Susan was just sharing with me yesterday, oh, Jenny, it sounds like you guys had an awesome time with Francis last week. And Susan was sharing with me that exercise that Francis offered. You want to share that exercise, Susan? I think it was really a powerful exercise that someone could. I was actually doing it this morning when I woke up. I was doing the sort of the practice. I think it was really valuable and something that people would want to maybe try for themselves, because you and Jenny are the only two here that went to Francis last week. So do you want to share that? Do you mind?
Unmute myself. That's kind of put me on the spot a little bit, Bill. Yes, I feel as if it's kind of part of a bigger context, though. So I don't know that it's that appropriate,
It's appropriate.
right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I feel there's a bit of a setup to it rather than just.
Okay. Well, we can do it. We can do it at the end if you feel like it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right. Thank you. All right. Well, then we'll just move on. Are you still with us, William?
Absolutely.
Okay. Your video's off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The next discourse is the cause of diversity, 344, or the cause. Would you also say that this is saying the cause of duality?
Same thing, right? Diversity, duality.
Yeah, the way it's being used here. Yeah. In seeking the cause of diversity in general, or the cause of duality, this would be when the mind is saying why. In seeking this, in general, you posit the evidence of such a cause even beyond the world. This is absurd. He's saying you can't start there. When the earth is made into a pot, the earth neither vanishes nor undergoes any change. If a child who had no pot idea in it already were to see the pot, it would only see the earth in the so-called pot. Here, earth, which was originally one and still remains one, is split into two by the mere name pot. And you assume the earth and the pot to be quite separate. This assumption alone constitutes diversity.
Right. So, I mean, that's Namarupa, right? Name and form. The name, pot, and the form. I mean, they're the same, right? I mean, they're identical, but really it's all earth, and earth is a metaphor for consciousness.
Yes.
In this case.
Yeah. And so you could also kind of bring that closer and say it's all you. It's all you awareness. It's all you, not personal self identity, but it's all what you are. And there's no other, there's no opposite, there's no other. There's only you.
Yeah.
And Holger said, God is the cause of phenomena of life. And Jenny said, you could alternatively say, God is the creator of the phenomena of life. Then recognize that God is just the name for universal consciousness, which is what we are. So we are the creators of everything. That's Jenny, that's blasphemy. They put poor Jesus on the cross for that kind of talk. But it sure is good to hear put in the proper context. It's really great to hear it. Looking at number 3, at paragraph 3, an object depends upon perception alone, but perception proves only one thing at a time. So 2 things cannot exist simultaneously. Therefore, comparison of things is impossible. Hence, diversity is an illusion. Or 2 things, diversities, even subject and object. I think those are good first steps, at least they are for me. But even those, subject and object, they merge into one thing because there's only one thing.
Which isn't even a thing.
Pardon me?
Which is not a thing.
Right. Yeah. We have to use a word for something.
We use the word thing, but
But there's no thing.
there's no thing.
Yeah, you have to get to where there's no name and there's no lips to speak it. Yeah. In this last paragraph, an object depends upon perception alone. So that's 1. Perception proves only one thing at a time. That's 2. And then 2 things cannot exist simultaneously. So he gave 3 examples of the absurdity of duality, as he put it in the last discourse. Moving on to 345, how is truth the background of Sat Chit Ananda? William?
Sat, existence, reality. Existence is the only thing that does not go out of existence because it comes out of itself. It is only itself. So existence, Sat, is the truth itself. Existence cannot be existence without consciousness. Therefore, he's tying the triple concept, which is 1, in together here. Existence cannot be existence without consciousness or awareness. Therefore, truth is consciousness. Truth, being objectless, is incapable of being felt, so it is peace. That is the background of all feeling. Therefore, truth is the background of Sat, Chit, and Ananda, or peace. I like that he uses peace instead of bliss. Most people define Ananda as bliss in India, but it can just, peace is that bliss.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not, this took a while for me to get that understanding in a direct experience, that peace doesn't have like fireworks involved. There's no, it's just this, it's this thing where, where it's before feeling good. It just is peace. There's no disturbance.
There's no icing on the cake.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. What is and the other thing, to go back a minute on what that says, is that truth being the background of Sat Chit Ananda, is you. You are, when Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, he each one of us can say that the same as he did, because the starting point is truth, and it's you. and it brings that understanding. It doesn't have a voice, it doesn't have a word, it doesn't have differences, or as we just read, diversity. It's just presence. Peace equals absence of lack. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. Peace is absence of lack. Peace, the essence of flow. Yeah. What is hold your sat chit shanti? Is that a website?
Shanti, peace.
Oh, sat chit peace. Okay. And I think we'll just move to 347. What is truth about bondage? What
No,
is
we
the truth about
three,
bondage?
6.
Oh, 346. The concept of Sat Chit Ananda.
There are 3 fundamental human experiences, namely life, thought, and feeling. The most generic form of these experiences are termed Sat, existence, Chit, consciousness, and Ananda, happiness, or as we said earlier, peace. These 3 names, and I like what someone commented that is wholeness, or how did she put it? Wholeness or absence of lack, right?
Yeah, yeah, Jackie. Yeah.
Thanks, Jackie. These 3 names denote only 3 aspects of the one and the same thing. And that thing is the ultimate reality. Again, he uses thing because we need words to communicate thought.
Yeah, I know.
He could say reality is the ultimate reality, but that wouldn't mean anything, I guess.
Right. Yeah. All right. And somebody said something here. Let's see. I asked, let's see. Okay, good. Peace, the essence of flow. Okay, we got that. Good. What is the truth about bondage? Number 347. What is the truth about bondage, William?
The truth about bondage is attachment to thought and a feeling attached to the thought that of separation.
Right. Well,
It's not objects, but only your thoughts and feelings that appear to bind you.
okay.
In other words, it's not the perceptions or the objects, but how you react to them. But thoughts and feelings can never bind you unless the ego is present to claim them as its own. Attachment to the non-existent idea of what I am, separate being, ego.
Right.
At the moment when thoughts and feelings occur, the ego is not present. The ego comes only after thoughts and feelings have disappeared. Then the ego alone is present and no thoughts or feelings. Therefore, thoughts or feelings in the ego can never exist simultaneously, and so you transcend bondage. Hence, never has really been any bondage at any time. Just the imaginary character, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We make it up. It's interesting that, if you get a new habit of not reacting, not responding, just allowing things to land and see the reactions. They don't have the same pull on you after a while. The bondage it loses its attachment when you learn to pause. And actually that sort of happens.
I'd love to hear Jenny's reaction to Francis's idea about waiting without waiting for anything. You know what I mean, Jenny?
Are you talking about waiting without waiting?
Yeah.
Which comes from Francis's teacher Jean Klein, and yes, it's a beautiful expression, because waiting implies openness, being ready for something to happen. But without waiting, without expectation, that's what the without waiting means. So we're not expecting, and we're not disappointed if nothing happens. So that's waiting without waiting. And he uses it especially to refer to the experience of oneness, of non-duality. If we try to find it, then we're waiting for something. We're waiting for something to happen. We're waiting for enlightenment. We're trying to find it, and it's not going to be there, because we're waiting for something. If we're just waiting without waiting, so in complete openness, no expectation, then suddenly the light can strike.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that is, and we all need to learn. That's patience. That starts with patience, and then it becomes this. I would say what you just said, Jenny: waiting without waiting, not expecting, that you have to respond, or waiting without waiting is the absolute allowing experience.
Yes, it's beyond patience, because patience still implies a something that you're waiting for, but it's without any wanting, without any desiring, without any expectation.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Would you say effortless flowering might be a poetic way to put it? And by the way, thank you for the Elliot, whoever added that.
Oh, Susan, yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. T.S. Eliot says something very, very similar. It's absolutely, it's effortless, and allowing flowering to happen as it's going to, as it wants to.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks, Jenny. All right. And Amy used open awareness, Ajashanti. Yeah, that's the answer. Just living presence, simply being. So the next one is 348.
Bill, Sylvia has a question.
Sylvia. Hi, Sylvia.
Hi. But I thought thoughts were the ego. It says ego comes only after thoughts. I don't understand that.
I know that's the cosmic surprise. It's because the ego is so fast, nanosecond fast, that it takes credit for it,
Oh, okay. So
right?
so the ego is not the thought. So the ego comes only after thought. Oh, okay. Okay.
Jenny, would you chime in on that?
Yes, in this instance, he's using the word ego in a different way.
Oh,
The modern teachers, certainly the modern teachers, so people like Francis and Rupert and Jean Klein, the way they describe ego is as a set of persistent thoughts to which we attach our identity. So it's an imaginary I. So we create that imaginary I out of a set of thoughts. So I am a woman. I live in Gloucestershire. I am 5 feet 2 inches tall. All of this, they're all qualifications of I am, and they make up an imaginary, an illusory identity. And so those are all thoughts. But what he's saying here is that those basic thoughts which make up the identity, when they first arise, they arise in their purity, just as thoughts. It's only later that another thought arises which turns them into an identity, an I, an illusory I.
okay. Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
That's a really good question, Sylvia, because I mean, thoughts are they're still phenomenal time and space experience, right? I mean, thoughts are coming, they're naming things. It's identifying as a body mind having thoughts. How would that not be illusory? Jenny?
The thoughts themselves are it's part of perceiving, and yes, they appear to exist in time because mind only works from a backdrop of time. But the thoughts in themselves, they're just the movement. They're just the activity, the excitation of consciousness.
Right. So there's a little distinction between the I principle that are not thoughts. And thoughts are not reality. So they're still, and yet they're not ego, because you gave that explanation of what the ego identifies as the personal self is the
It is a thought, but it's a thought which is has been constructed from out of previous thoughts and perceptions.
Right.
So it is a thought, but it's a different kind, a special kind of one, we could say. And that's why he's saying it's not a thought, but certainly in modern terminology, it would be called a thought.
Right. Yeah. And I've heard what Sylvia just mentioned also in teachings, and probably used it myself, where thoughts are, I don't know that I've said that thoughts are the ego, but I've had that same kind of a question that who's the I that has the thought? Well, it can only be the personal or the body mind.
No, it's God that has the thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay, it's God that has the thoughts. Yes.
Yeah.
There's that other.
Universal consciousness, the real I, the true self.
Okay.
Thought in itself is not a bad thing. It's only us that makes it so by judgment. When Shakespeare says, when the poet, what's he say? I paraphrase. He puts a pen to paper, and the poet creates from airy nothing a flight and form, right? In Midsummer Night's Dream. To airy nothing a name. And that's really actually very beautiful. Or Eliot's, poem that was cited earlier. So thought in itself is not something for us to judge, because it comes from God, and
It's beautiful. It's a natural part of the universe. The universe is consists of the physical realm. It consists of the realm of thoughts and ideas as well, and it's perfectly natural and beautiful. And yes, as you say, comes from God.
And so is the ego.
Yes,
Okay.
equally so is ego.
Yeah. It's just I did kind of figuring out there's so many names of and the way things are set up and how to categorize it, and then you have to let go of all of it.
Yeah.
let it be. Yeah.
Funny. Okay. Well, thank you for your question and your help, Jenny. Appreciate that. Thank you for your question, Sylvia. That was awesome. All right, where are we?
348.
348, yeah. How to attain liberation through upasana. The form adopted or visualized in one's upasana. Now, the upasana, what I could see is that it's a ritual, kind of a practice, right?
Well, you see the word asana in there, which is a form in hatha yoga, right? You see the word, and upa
Yeah.
is being close to, like Upanishad. We have the word Upanishad, being near, listening closely, close by, right?
Okay.
The Ishtadeva is your personal God, right?
Yeah, right.
Saguna Brahman, with the Brahman, or the whole, without, beyond the gunas, right? Jenny, is that right?
No.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Funny.
Nirguna Brahman is without the qualities.
What is that, Dan?
Yeah, you're right, Dan.
Nirguna Brahman means without the qualities, and Saguna Brahman is with qualities.
There you go. You're right.
Oh, I forgot we had another professor in the room. Thank you, Dan.
Mm.
And Ishta means worshipped.
And then Ish is also means Lord also.
Ishta, yes, it's a different word though. That means Lord, but Ishta here means worshipped.
The word, so it's our personal, whether it's Krishna, Shiva, or whatever, it's our.
That's right, William.
Yeah, Ishta Devas. There's Sattvika Deva and Siddha Deva. This Saguna Brahman with qualities is the expression of Nirguna Brahman. Okay, so the Brahman without qualities creates the Saguna Brahman.
Yes, because one is absolute and the other is temporal.
Right. Or personal.
Personal also, yes.
Yeah. And Siddha can mean powers or perfection, right?
You're close. Siddha means accomplished. And in the sense of this, we're talking about in siddhas later here. Siddhas are actually supernatural powers.
Right, but it can also mean perfection, right?
Perfected, it's a past participle.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Dang, I knew we needed the professor for this one.
We
Thank
got
you,
one.
Dan. We got one.
Thank you, Dan.
No, I'm happy to do it. I was reading through them before today, and I thought, well, I better get ready for 348.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Even after visualizing the Sita Diva, if you change your goal and long for liberation, the Sita Diva himself or herself becomes transformed into Sattvika Diva and leads you on. It is in the intense desire for liberation that makes even the path of Saguna Brahma Pasana sweet and endearing. Can you say that for us, Dan? I really
I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to. Even after visualizing the Siddha Deva, not Diva, Deva. That's a word for God. It actually comes from a word meaning to shine. So the shining ones are the gods. If you change your goal and long for liberation, the Siddha Deva himself becomes transformed into Sattvika Deva, and that leads you on. Sattvika means having all the best qualities, very spiritual qualities, the kind that lead you to liberation. And that's the title of this, How to Attain Liberation Through Upasana, see? Because basically, the overall orientation of Advaita Vedanta is jnana yoga, yoga of knowledge. So, and another form of obtaining liberation, he's saying, is through devotion, and that's what that's the upasana, right? Upasana is devotional worship of a god with qualities, like you might worship Krishna or many others. Okay, so the Siddha Deva himself becomes transformed into the Sattvika Devas. That means it leads you on to better things, see, more higher states of closer to what you want to go to enlightenment. It is this intense desire for liberation that makes even the Saguna Brahmopasana, okay, Saguna Brahmopasana. That means the worship of upasana of the Brahman with qualities, Saguna. So sweet and endearing. So it makes it all the better, see, because Sattvika is always sweet and endearing. It's very high and pure and lovely. So as long as you attach an attribute to God, see, because Nirguna Brahma has no attributes. That's another word. Attribute here is translating guna, right? So as long as you attach an attribute to God, it remains only a mental concept. See, it's back in the realm of mental. It's not even higher, say, intuitive insight and that sort of thing. And together with the attribute, it becomes a percept. Okay, it's a perception. So that's on the practical level, but the practical level done perfectly well, and as long as you're doing your upasana for the higher motive, that is to say, get closer to liberation and closer to Nirguna Brahman, that's great. But if you're going for mere supernatural powers, those are lead you away from your goal, and they're seductive, and they make you it perverts your whole effort into things that we'll say are only for your lesser desires. You want to impress people or something like that.
Yeah. Wow, that was so helpful to have your clear explanation of that, Dan. Thank you. Awesome. That was beautiful.
My pleasure.
And there was something that he said in this in that last paragraph that really caught my attention. It is the intense desire for liberation that makes even the path of Saguna Brahmopasana sweet and enduring. So going back to that intense desire,
Yes.
that's the key.
Yes, I know. It seems to be contrary to the whole business of effortless, and not working too hard at it and all that sort of thing, doesn't it? Yes.
Yeah. But I think
On the part of a devotee, though, it's considered useful.
Yeah. Well, isn't it that intense desire, that the hunger that is like the inertia, or the the thing that sparks, and then of course effortless, that initiates an effortless pull.
Ideally, yes.
Yeah. I mean, everyone here could probably say that, because everyone here, they come, we are passionately uh, hungry, or eager, or loving, or just enjoying this, the language of Vedanta, and what Atmananda is presenting.
Yeah.
There's a compelling, yes, I love this. I love how this is presented.
Well, if you've ever heard the story of Ramakrishna Paramahansa, the great Bengali saint, he was started off as a devotee. He's devoted to the mother goddess Kali. Kali, I should say, that's better pronounced. And then he went on later to have the nirguna attainment.
Yeah,
No.
there's a sweetness or a perfume that the bhakti enjoys when the whole purpose of bhakti is to become one with the Ishtadeva, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting term, actually. Bhakti means from a root to cleave in two. So it reinforces the idea of God being separate from the devotee. Right. Then the idea is to get closer and closer and closer.
But through grace, or what we call grace, the devotee becomes that which he's devoted to.
Yeah.
Good one, William.
Nicely put.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. And we'll move on to 349, Sattvika Darshana. And what I picked up on that is glimpses of or viewing, glimpses of seeing. Is that right? Sattvika Darshana? Does that sound right? Sattvika Darshana is that in which the forms of the guru and the Ishtadeva appear as synonyms of the same reality. Through Sattvika Darshana, one is taken to the right absolute.
No.
And the statements made in that state will always point to the ultimate.
No. Yeah, darshana means to see, but also to see a revered person, or a Ishtadevata, a god, or a guru, and if they could become synonymous with the same reality capitalized. Darshana, interestingly enough, also means that's a word for philosophy. Like Buddha Darshana is
right.
philosophy Buddhism.
Okay. So this is in the title, Sattvika Darshana, the characteristics of devotion, the characteristics of seeing. Which one is it?
Sattvic Darshana, again, it's sort of like to have the improving presence, often without words, of just seeing the guru. For example, you know that Ramana Maharshi taught people without words, so people would just come into his presence, and they would absorb the peace that emanated from him. That would be a form of Sattvika Darshana as I read it now.
Okay, that's cool.
Sitting in presence.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that's what happens when a teacher or a guru or someone that steps, they're sharing from that pure place of connectedness. It becomes a contagious experience for the audience or for the devotee.
Yes. There's Punjaji out of where was he? Anyway, he was also known as Papaji. He was a devotee of first Krishna, and then he visited Ramana Maharshi, and he also brought his daughter one time. And his daughter, beautifully enough, she only sat in his presence of Ramana Maharshi, and she could never talk about it because it was without words. But she would always break into tears. So that's the power of the darshana without words, the Sattvika Darshana.
Yeah.
Her form of Sattvika Darshana is as defined here, I believe.
Yeah. All right. And Jenny said, these last two are not really about our path. I think he was answering someone on the path of bhakti.
That's correct. Absolutely correct. That's why I brought it up. That's the whole point of only 348, the title again, through upasana, which is not the way of knowledge, right? This is a way of devotion. So he's saying it's also still possible for those people who pursue upasana, but that's not really what we're doing, and what his thrust is. His thrust is knowledge.
Well, it's really good. Okay, let's move on to the last one. How are the I-ness, ahanta, and the thisness, idanta, related? The I-ness is, go ahead. The I-ness is the ego, which develops into body, senses, and mind, and into body, senses, and mind. The thisness is the non-ego, which develops into the world. But the thisness can never stand by itself. Therefore, neither reason nor experience allows us to state that objects appear in the thisness alone. Therefore, both of them appear and disappear on Atma, the only reality.
Yeah.
So it's really just saying the same thing that we keep hearing, and Jenny always sort of drills in that there's only one thing. There's only oneness, and that's there's only Atma.
Of course.
Yeah.
And it's summarized in Nisargadatta's I am that, this whole aphorism.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's I think that's it. That's the last discourse in this group. And if and we still have 15 minutes left. If Jenny or Susan would like to share that experience that Francis shared, do we have time to share that? Would either one of you like to share that?
I don't know if Jenny would. I don't feel to actually, Bill, but I don't know if
Jenny, do you feel like sharing that experiment that you all did with Francis? I mean, we don't have to.
Well, just to explain that Francis's meditations are about an hour long, so it is really about first of all sinking very deeply below thoughts and perceptions, and then there's a way of exploring. Exploring the body was, I think, what Susan was referring to. There were three meditations that he did over the 2 weekends, and one of them was about exploring the body. So we can do a little bit, but we need to start from just allowing all thoughts, all sensations, all perceptions to be exactly as they are. And it's best if we close our eyes, because then we're limiting the perceptions of the world. We just allow them to come in and to go out. We don't control them. We don't observe them, and that's important, not to observe them. Just allow them to be there, just to flow through. We don't know where our thoughts come from. We don't know where they're going to. They just come and they go. There's no controller of our thoughts. There's no decider of our thoughts, no chooser. Just happens. Just like the rain just happens. After a while, our thoughts lose any kind of prominence, and sometimes bodily sensations will will come to the fore. But we allow those to be exactly as they are. So if we allow very light attention on our body, what we know of our body is, with our eyes closed, is just bodily sensations, just tingling in our fingers, soles of our feet, maybe our back, our shoulders, our head. But only give it light attention. Don't focus any attention on any part of the body. So allow that experience of the body to be there. Now just allow the index finger of your right hand to move a tiny bit upwards. Nobody doing it. No one controlling this sensation, just happening. And then it floats down. It seems that there's some kind of controller. Just let go of that concept of controller and just notice the sensation as the finger moves up a little bit and down. So that's an experiment to see that no one is controlling our finger. Let's try another one. Just allow your head to move to the right, very, very slowly. Nobody doing it. It's just happening. And then back to the left. Just be aware of the sensation. No one controlling that movement. And then back to the center. Now, different things may have happened during those experiments. So the first experiment with the finger, some people may still find that there appears to be a controller. And that's something you can try again another time. Other people may find that no, the finger just moves by itself. It just happens. But then when they move the head, then there seems to be a person, a someone, a controller moving the head. And that's an interesting distinction. And the reason that happens is, for some of us, we feel that our self resides in the head. And again, that's something that you can try again. And for yet others, we realize that no, nothing moves. There's no me controlling anything. There is no controller. Everything just happens. And for those, then that's something you can experiment with when you go out for walks in the countryside or along the streets with your eyes open. It's a little harder with your eyes open, but it's worth giving it a go. So that's a little taste of what Francis did. Only Susan might want to comment on how authentic that is.
That was awesome. Susan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, thank you, Jen. Thank you very much, Jenny. What I think the part that I really got when I did it with Francis was the sense that that the finger was not moving. You know, that I was not moving. I was the stillness, and the finger was moving in me. The head was moving in me. A real experiential taste of that. Obviously, I've heard these concepts, but in that meditation, I really got that experience, which of course then gives reality to what the words I had heard. You know, that I'm not in the body's in me. I'm not in the world is in me. So yeah, thank you for doing that, Jenny.
Yeah, thank you both. I was just Susan, you told me just a little bit about it, and I got totally excited. I have to go. You know, I want to go see Francis for sure. From your explanation, he'll be with us in the conference, but having the experience in person, I know is a different experience. And so thank you both for bringing that to this group. That was beautiful, Jenny, and I really enjoyed, really got a piece of it. Even only a small piece was really nice. Thank you. And William, thank you for being our co-host this week. It was it's good to have you participate. And also, Dan, you're awesome. And thank you, Canty, for bringing your beautiful man to be part of this group. And thank you, everyone, for this another great Bible study. I mean, book study. Old habit. book study group. And next week we have Jenny back. So thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye, everyone. Have an awesome week. See you next week.